What's going on, guys? Abrasive here. So today we have my solutions to the puzzles that I've talked about last week. I've got so many answers from you, mostly to the puzzle one. Was it hard enough to answer the other puzzles, or what was the issue with answering the others? I think, yeah, maybe the puzzle one is the most interesting one. Surprisingly, I didn't get many answers that I expected to get. So I'll talk about that in a second. Without further ado, let's go in the first one. So we had a situation like this, and most of you guys, what you suggested was to charge the Omen with Lemurs here, charge the Maw here, charge the Brazen Beast here, and if the Lemurs fail, then chaff the Imperial Guard with the Furies. And that's a good plan. That's a pretty good plan. There are not so many issues with that, but it's pretty slow. It's not very dynamic, and well, if you fail the charge, then you can always have a lot of strange stuff happening, like heroes exiting the Imperial Guards, either fleeing or chaffing your units. So this can get very lengthy. So I want to suggest something a bit different than this, and my idea is first, I don't want to have a charge on a 9 on a Swift Strike because it's just above 50%, so that's not that good. But I want to charge only the Savara into the Imperial Guard unit. As I've told you in the last video, the Imperial Guards have shields, so I want to position him exactly here, next to the heroes. Why exactly here? Because I want to charge the Maw and Brazen Beasts into the crossbowmen as well, and position the Maw such that I can overrun into the Imperial Guard, touching only the corner of the Imperial Guard. Okay, so the idea is that the Omen will charge the Imperial Guard, will snipe the heroes, and the Maw will try to get some combat resolution. But now, how to prevent the Maw from dying? So if I do it very clumsily, then after first turn of combat he might just shift his whole unit to the left and start putting all his attacks on the Maw, and eventually Maw will probably die. Especially because it's only AP1 and Imperial Guards are free up armor, so the solution to this is to actually put the Furies around here in this box, obviously 1 inch from the Imperial Guard, and this prevents him from basically combat reforming to take more attacks at Maw. I think this is a pretty safe way. The charge on the 7 is much better than the charge on the 9, in my opinion. And even if you fail, you can do 2 of the things. You can either still chaff with Furies and charge with the Omen again, or you can just overrun the Maw itself, and it shouldn't die in the 2 turns if you still position Furies in the same way. I think that the Savara, even though he doesn't look very safe, is actually very safe fighting against Imperial Guard, because for at least 3 turns he will be locked in the challenge and the unit cannot strike at him, and after that there shouldn't be much of the unit left, and even if it is, they hit him on a 5 and they wound him on a 6. So this should not be any problem. And the last point is, if the Savara actually fails to make it and the Maw gets in just on the corner, then you have to remember to refuse the challenge with the Maw. This seems really strange, but if you accept the challenge, then you will most likely get stuck in the challenge for the rest of the game, because the Maw cannot kill a 1-up guy very swiftly. And then if the Omen wants to charge in subsequently, then he will just die to the attacks, because he won't be able to lock himself into the challenge. So that's my answer to the puzzle 1. So let's move to the puzzle 2. I'll start with a pretty interesting suggestion, which basically resolved about the idea of charging the Skink Braves into reliable Elf Lord. You obviously don't need to charge the Raptors in front, because the Raptors don't bring any combat resolution, and that's why you probably sometimes want to have the banner of on your Raptors. But the idea is to charge the Lord in the flank, challenge him with the Slan, get some wounds on the Slan, but then try to break him. The problem is that the Elf Lord usually carries the Breath Weapon, and with the Breath Weapon, actually he does around 3 wounds to the Quattle, and then he has a break on 7, as far as I see. So relying on a break on a 7, this is a pretty interesting concept, and if there weren't any other ideas, then this would definitely be something to consider. So I think that's good, and you should always try to seek for solutions like this. Even if you don't want to make them, it's always good to know that they are in the equation and that you can use them. So here I think what most of you guys suggested is to charge the Torosaur into the reverse to try to force the terror check. And if they fail, you can charge the Phoenixes freely. But I think there is a problem with that. Because if you go for the LA in reverse and you don't decide to overrun, the Phoenixes will be able to charge the Torosaur, and Torosaur doesn't have that many wounds left. If you decide to overrun, on the other hand, you won't be able to countercharge the Phoenixes in the next rounds. Also, while the distance is not that great, you can always fail this charge. So you should probably charge the Saurus as well, and this is what most of you pointed out, to charge Saurus as well. And if you do that, then most likely, because of the Torosaur positioning, he won't even be able to countercharge if the Phoenixes decide to charge the Saurus because of the facings. So I think that I would personally not charge the Torosaur in, but I would rather position him somewhere here, outside of the line of sight of the Phoenixes, to be able to countercharge. I would just charge the Saurus here. As most of you pointed out, you need to exit the Slan from this unit and put him here, behind the Saurus, so that he is unchargeable. Stegosaur also could help with the countercharge. The Raptor Riders should exit the line of sight of the Elf Lord. And the question is what to do with the Skink Braves. And I think the interesting idea is to position them like this in the conga line, a bit further here, so that the Lord cannot move in the right side of the board if nobody charges the Skinks. And if any of the Phoenixes decide to charge the Skinks, you just flee with them, flee outside the board, and you basically catch them with the Saurus, because they cannot move out of your line of sight. So I think this was a pretty hard situation for the Saurus, but this looks like a pretty safe way to defend and try to win this game and work from there. I think it would be much harder if the Elf Lord was positioned a bit better. So, for example, he can catch any of the units, because basically here you can exit all of the units out of his line of sight and he's absolutely useless, right? Oh, actually, I forgot about one thing to mention in the puzzle 1. So after we have this plan, we have to think what will your opponent do. In the second situation, the opponent basically cannot do anything. But here, the opponent actually has a choice. And I think what would be smartest from the Imperial point of view is that after you charge, you should first charge the Maw to force a terror check, because if the crossbowmen fail the terror check, then you can charge with the Brazen Beasts into the Imperial Guard, for example. So after the charge with the Maw, you should stand with the crossbowmen. After the charge with Brazen Beasts, you should flee with crossbowmen, actually. Because you are screwed if the demon player manages to get his plan. So you can at least try to prevent it in this way, because Brazen Beasts may fail the redirect, Maw of Hakan might fail the redirect, the Omen might fail the charge on a 7. So you have to give yourself a possibility to defend this, even though it's really hard. Okay, so back to the puzzle 3. There was actually one misunderstanding here, because some people thought that the Sirens are on the front of the Rat Swarm, and this is incorrect. The Sirens are actually in the flank of the Rat Swarm. So the two possibilities that I considered playing here was, first, charge the Dreadmill with the Beasts, and actually because of the positioning, if I charge the Dreadmill, if I make the charge, I can overrun into the Rat Swarm, because there is not enough distance between the Rat Swarm and the impossible terrain to feed the Brazen Beast. So I have to actually close the door to the Dreadmill, and Dreadmill has to align to me. And then what I do, I put the Sirens here in front of the second Dreadmill, and I basically deny the Plug Pendulum any sort of charge in the next turn, which I think is huge, because then I have a Dreadmill basically for free, I have Red Swarms for free, I have Sirens in a very good position, and this black pendulum is doing nothing, so I can decide for my charges next turn. And the Dreadmill basically cannot charge the sirens with the Harbinger. That's basically impossible. So I think this is a very viable option. This requires a charge on 11, but if you make it, you win big. If you fail it, nothing happens, because the Dreadmill won't be able to countercharge the Red Haze Brazen Beasts anyway. And you will finish your beasts somewhere like here, so it's very hard for Pendulum to countercharge you anyway. So I think this is a safe approach, but in the end I decided against it, because I thought that generally in this matchup the Pendulum is the biggest threat. So I think that the second option is to charge the Brazen Beast into Rat Swarm, overrun into the Pendulum, and position the Siren unit around here, so that I have to put 3 Brazen Beasts in contact with the Pendulum. This is possible in the situation presented in the picture. You will just block the maximum alignment, because if you don't position Sirens there, the maximum alignment will be that 2 Crushers are only facing Pendulum and the 2 others are touching the corners of the unit. So you have to artificially force your 4th Crusher to be unable to touch the Pendulum unit. You will get countercharged by the Dreadmill, but that should be fine. Actually, in the game I didn't put the Sirens here. I maybe could have put only the Harbinger and sacrifice him. The problem was that there was a unit around here with the Assassin, and even though there were other heroes inside, I didn't want to use my 1000-point unit to the unit with the Assassin, so I decided against it, and I just ran 2 Crushers into the Pendulum, so only 2 Crushers could hit on the Pendulum. I killed a whole bunch of monks, together with the magic that dealt some damage to this Dreadmill up here. I managed to kill this Dreadmill, and I did 4 wounds to the Pendulum, so this was a pretty great trade anyway. That's it from me for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you will enjoy the next iterations of this, if they will happen. I think it's pretty hard to find such situations. If you find such situations yourself, please send them to me, and I will use them in my next videos, also giving you my thoughts about what to do in this particular situation. Thank you guys for watching, and see you in the next one. Cheers!